so hard and so horrible. It's really taken a really bad toll on me. I'm really sorry.
For years, Christina Hall was introduced to the world as the woman who had it all. Confidence, talent, success. Week after week, millions of viewers watched her transform rundown houses into stunning dream homes, all while flashing an effortless smile that suggested her life was just as perfectly renovated as the properties she flipped. On television, she was calm, focused, and in control. But behind the scenes, Christina's real life told a very different story, one marked by emotional trauma, health scares, financial collapse, and heartbreaking loss. Christina's rise to fame began when Flip or Flop debuted on HGTV in 2013. The show followed her and her then-husband Tarek El Moussa as they took major financial risks, buying distressed homes and turning them into profitable properties. Their chemistry was undeniable. Viewers loved their playful arguments, shared ambition, and visible passion for real estate. At the time, Christina was known by her married name, and the two appeared inseparable, partners in love, business, and television. What audiences didn't realize was just how much was at stake. The couple wasn't simply flipping houses for fun. They were rebuilding their lives from the ground up. Years earlier, they had been hit hard by the 2008 housing market crash. Once living comfortably, they suddenly found themselves drowning financially. They went from paying thousands of dollars a month for their home to scraping by in a small apartment, unsure if they could survive in an industry that had nearly destroyed them. Desperate but determined, Christina and Tarek made a bold move. They invested what little they had into a modest property in Santa Ana, California. Against the odds, the flip worked. They sold the house at a profit, proving that their instincts and Christina's eye for design were still sharp. That one success sparked a comeback. More flips followed. More risks were taken. And eventually, their journey caught the attention of HGTV. As Flip or Flop gained popularity, Christina became a recognizable face across America. Her clean, modern style helped define the look of the show, and her ability to elevate properties made her indispensable to their success. Opportunities poured in, and fame arrived quickly. But just as their careers were reaching new heights, an unexpected health crisis changed everything. During the early seasons of the show, a viewer who happened to be a registered nurse noticed something alarming while watching TV: a visible lump on Tarek's neck. She reached out, urging him to seek medical attention. What seemed like a small concern quickly turned into a nightmare. Doctors ordered tests. Surgery followed. And then came the devastating diagnosis: cancer. Christina later recalled the moment her world collapsed. Fear overwhelmed her, as she faced the possibility of losing her husband, her partner, and the father of her child. At the same time, the pressure of filming, maintaining their business, and staying strong in public became unbearable. The man she relied on was suddenly fighting for his life, and nothing felt stable anymore. What made the situation even more painful was what viewers didn't know. Tarek was later diagnosed with a second form of cancer, testicular cancer. The treatments were aggressive. The side effects were brutal, and the emotional toll was relentless. Christina found herself juggling roles she never expected to carry all at once: caregiver, mother, business partner, and television personality. Behind the cameras, exhaustion and fear took over. Christina admitted in interviews that she felt emotionally drained, constantly worried about Tarek's survival. She barely had time to process her own feelings while trying to hold her family together. The stress seeped into every part of their lives, slowly eroding the bond that once felt unbreakable. As Tarek battled cancer, the strain on their marriage intensified. Hospital visits replaced quiet moments. Medical appointments replaced normal routines. The weight of uncertainty hovered over everything they did. While Christina pushed forward, trying to stay strong, the emotional distance between them grew. What once felt like a fairy tale partnership began to fracture under pressure. The irony was painful. At the exact moment the world saw them as a power couple, their private life was unraveling. Fame didn't protect them from fear. Success didn't shield them from heartbreak. In fact, the spotlight only made it harder to cope. Christina was expected to show up, smile, and perform, no matter what she was going through behind closed doors. Yet even amid chaos, she didn't stop. Christina continued working, designing, flipping, and filming. She pushed through sleepless nights and emotional breakdowns, determined not to let tragedy define her. But the cost of carrying everything alone was high. The stress began to reshape her relationship, her identity, and her sense of stability. This period marked a turning point, not just in her marriage but in her life. The woman audiences admired for her strength was silently struggling, learning the hard truth that success doesn't make pain disappear. It only hides it better. And as Christina would soon discover, the hardships she had already endured were only the beginning. As the emotional strain of illness and fame continued to mount, Christina Hall faced another deeply personal battle, one that would test her resilience in ways no television audience could see. While Tarek underwent cancer treatments, the long-term effects began to take hold. Hormonal imbalances caused by medical procedures changed his physical and emotional state, adding another layer of complexity to an already fragile situation. Despite everything, Christina still dreamed of expanding their family. Her first pregnancy had come with complications, but the desire for another child never faded. With natural conception proving difficult, the couple made the painful decision to pursue in vitro fertilization. It was a choice filled with hope, but also fear. The IVF process was physically demanding and emotionally draining. Hormone injections, medical appointments, and constant uncertainty became part of Christina's daily life. The first attempt failed, delivering a crushing blow. Still, she refused to give up. On the second attempt, they received news they had been praying for. She was pregnant. For a brief moment, hope returned. The idea of new life felt like light breaking through years of darkness, but that joy was short-lived. At just 8 weeks, Christina suffered a miscarriage. The loss devastated her. It wasn't just the loss of a pregnancy, it was the loss of hope she had clung to during one of the hardest periods of her life. Grief settled in quietly. Christina continued working, continued filming, and continued showing up for the world, even as she processed the heartbreak privately. She later admitted that the miscarriage left a deep emotional scar, compounding the stress she had already been carrying for years. Still, she pressed forward. Against the odds and despite the pain, Christina chose to try IVF again. The decision required courage, strength, and emotional vulnerability. It meant risking more heartbreak, but also holding on to the belief that life could still offer joy after loss. By this time, Flip or Flop had become one of HGTV's longest-running shows, spanning 10 seasons. While the series remained successful, the partnership behind it was unraveling. The emotional distance between Christina and Tarek had grown too wide to ignore. Years of stress, illness, and unprocessed trauma had taken their toll. Eventually, the couple separated, ending both their marriage and their business partnership. Though they continued filming professionally, the love story that once captivated viewers was gone. The final episode of Flip or Flop aired in December 2022, marking the end of an era. For Christina, it was more than the conclusion of a television show. It symbolized the closing of a chapter defined by struggle, sacrifice, and survival. Yet, her story didn't end in tragedy alone. What makes Christina Hall's journey so powerful is not just what she endured, but how she endured it. Through financial collapse, public scrutiny, health crises, miscarriages, and emotional exhaustion, she kept moving forward. She rebuilt herself the same way she rebuilt homes, piece by piece, even when the foundation had cracked. Behind the perfectly staged rooms and televised success was a woman learning to navigate grief, loss, and resilience in real time. Christina's life proves that strength doesn't always look like confidence on camera. Sometimes, it looks like showing up when everything inside you is breaking. Her story is a reminder that fame doesn't erase pain, success doesn't protect the heart, and the most heartbreaking tragedies often unfold far away from the spotlight, quietly, painfully, and unseen. As Christina Hall moved forward into this new chapter of her life, the emotional weight of everything she had endured did not simply disappear. Divorce, public scrutiny, miscarriages, and years of unresolved stress left lasting marks. While many expected her to bounce back quickly, the truth was far more complicated. Healing did not come in neat timelines, and rebuilding herself proved to be far harder than rebuilding any home she had ever flipped. After the end of her marriage, Christina was forced to rediscover who she was outside of a partnership that had defined both her career and public identity. For years, she had been seen as part of a duo, professionally and personally. Suddenly, she stood alone in the spotlight, carrying the expectations of success while processing grief that never had time to fully surface. The pressure to appear strong became exhausting, and the emotional cracks she once hid behind smiles became harder to conceal. Motherhood remained one of her anchors during this period. Balancing work and raising her children while managing personal pain pushed her to emotional limits. She has spoken openly about anxiety, stress, and the toll that non-stop filming and constant judgment took on her mental health. Fame amplified everything. Mistakes, rumors, and personal decisions became public discussion, leaving little room for privacy or quiet recovery. Christina's body also carried reminders of what she had been through. Years of stress, hormone treatments, and pregnancy loss affected her physically as much as emotionally. There were moments when she questioned her own strength, wondering how much more she could endure while still showing up for her family and career. Yet, despite everything, she refused to stop moving forward. Professionally, she continued to build new projects, proving that her talent was never dependent on anyone else. Each new venture became both a distraction and a form of healing, a way to channel pain into creativity. Design, for Christina, was no longer just about aesthetics. It became a way to reclaim control in a life that had felt unpredictable for far too long. Still, the scars of the past remained. Loss has a way of reshaping people, and Christina was no exception. The woman audiences once saw as carefree and lighthearted evolved into someone more guarded, more reflective. The tragedies she faced forced her to grow in ways viewers rarely witnessed. Strength, she learned, was not about pretending everything was fine. It was about surviving when nothing was. Her journey stands as a quiet reminder that reality television rarely reflects reality itself. Behind the edits, the music, and the staged perfection are real people carrying real pain. Christina Hall's story is not simply one of success or fame. It is a story of endurance, of continuing when life repeatedly takes more than it gives. Today, her past remains a defining part of who she is, but it does not fully define her future. Christina's life reflects a truth many struggle to admit, that healing is messy, non-linear, and often invisible. The tragedy was never just what happened to her, but how much she was expected to endure in silence. And perhaps that is the most heartbreaking part of all. While the world watched her renovate houses and smile through adversity, Christina Hall was quietly rebuilding herself, one broken piece at a time.